Hello. My name is Emery. Welcome to Coding Australia. This project is called Structured Query Language.
So we're going to do some SQL, structured query language. MySQL, there's lots of other ones you can use. We're going to do the one that I use. But before we actually get into the language itself, I would like you to just go back to your flexible response Flexbox activities that we did, which would look like this. And I want it all changed into PHP format and put up on the server, because all the SQL is going to take place up there as well. So you may as well change it, and the way we do that is if we go and look at, there's about what it used to look like, and that's what I want you to make it look like. So you take out everything from there up, put it in a new file and call it header, and add a new menu item called blog. Make sure these all get changed to PHP, and then go and get index, or home actually, it'll be home. Change that to index PHP. So your home PH, which would change to index PHP, would now look like that. Okay, and the other thing you need to do for gallery is change the header to gallery header and put that CSS in instead of the style one, because it's just a little bit different. Okay, and so remember the asides are in a different place, so there's other ways of doing it, but this will do. And so gallery would be like this. Up here you'd have include gallery header, not just gallery, but the rest of it's the same, and the footer is like that. So let's see, the footer is the bottom bit, so there's the bottom part of footer. So all that needs to be done and uploaded to the website. Now the blog PHP is very basic, that's it, nothing in there yet, but that's where we're going. So create the blog PHP in your header, and at blog PHP, don't forget to include header and footer as well, the same as for the other ones. And when you go, this is what we're looking at in the browser, this is what we're looking at on the server there. So gallery, same as before, and about, all in PHP format now, and home PHP format, news, not much happening there, and the one we're going to look at, which is setting up a blog. Alright, now hopefully we're going to be able to get across to MySQL and get things happening. It's always a bit of a punt, especially when it comes to how fast the server's running. Sometimes it is good and sometimes it's really slow, but we'll see how we go. Now first things first, for me to do all this stuff I need to use somewhere, so I'm going to use my website, and I'm going to go to this feature called cPanel, and hopefully it'll go there. It keeps giving me this error all of a sudden, which didn't used to be there, but I'm not worried about it. So I've logged in. Now I successfully got into cPanel through my login. Now those logins that you would have spotted there, that one was starred out, if you get into cPanel you'll need those two, that login and that password, when you get down here, because where you're going is here. You can go somewhere else if you want, but this is where I'm going, PHP My Admin. Now when I go to PHP My Admin, it will hopefully do what it says it's doing, which is good. It's behaving itself and it's redirected to here. Now you may not be able to get to here on the first go. You're going to have to create a database. It may do one for you. Sometimes you get this extra one thrown in as well. Depends who your website host is, I think. Some places do it, some don't. And things keep changing as well, but that's okay. So this is what it's called, and in here for some reason they've given me a bit extra which I don't really want, but I can't get rid of it, so I'll just stick with it for the moment. So I've called my database that. So that's the database that I've created, and if it creates correctly this will come up, and then in here there will probably be nothing. but I've got a few in here already. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a table, and the table is going to look like this table. So it'll have 4 fields, columns, call them what you like. These are the 2 where information will come from the blog post. This will be calculated every time something's added to the database, and the date will be taken off the computer. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we'll start a new one and we'll call it Blogger. So this one's going to be called Blogger. The first entry will be post ID. It will be the same as they all are, a varchar. We'll make it 5. Okay, and we'll make it the primary key. So that means it's going to be unique. It is also going to allow us to edit as well. Okay, the next one is going to be name, and that's going to be a varchar, and we'll make it around about 30. You can always come back and edit if it's not big enough. That's all you want at the moment. The next one we'll call contents. So this is where your blog comment goes in. This one we'll make 250, and this one is date. And we could use a date format, but we're not manipulating the date very much, so we'll stick with varchar for this one too, and we'll make the var date 30 as well. Okay, and the table is called Blogger, and that's about all you need. Table comments, this is a Blogger, whatever. Yep. Okay, so that'll get us going. All right, that will get us going. And if we have a look at this, make sure we got what we want. Alright, and if we do this, it won't let you run anything because it's empty, but we'll come back to that. So this is the Blogger, this is the structure of Blogger. Okay, so there they are, and you can always edit if you're not happy with things. So it's not as though once you've created it you're in trouble. No, you're not. You're ready to go. So you've got your table set up, you're able to get in. Now we'll go and look at how we access it from PHP out here on the via the PHP file that we call blog. Alright, so hopefully we've successfully created a table called Blogger in our new database, and we've put in those 4 fields with those sizes. And the next thing we're going to look at then is over here is creating this, and when we put this information in and send it, we come back over here and check. There will be rows of information. That's if it all works beautifully. So let's just see if that's what we're going to achieve. Okay, so there's the page, and here's the code that goes with it. So we create that Blogger. This is the changes that we make. So it would have probably just had under construction here. So this is what you need to add. Now, the reason I can go a little bit quick, hopefully, here is that we've done this in PHP already when we had that contact thing. So it's a little bit different, but not much. There's a couple of things that need to happen. So the structure is fairly basic. Form, method, post, action, blog, form. It's in a table. It's not formatted, the table, it's just 50% stuff, so it should resize hopefully and not cause too many dramas when it gets smaller. We can find that out later. So have a look at it. That little bit there's been put in there so that the submit doesn't sit over here, it sits here. I've taken out the spam filter and all that for the moment. So that's really basic stuff. Now the only other thing I did over here in the style library was I added that. Okay, so I formatted it, and you probably find we did that somewhere else as well, but anyway, that's the formatting. A bit of padding, a background that's a yellowy, and a colour which is bluey looking colour about it. Okay, so you need to do that in your style library. Don't worry about the other one, the gallery, because it's not part of it, just the straight out style. And then if you save it and run it and upload it, that is what you get. Okay, so that's your first part. Now when you submit, when you submit to this one, okay, so you're going somewhere else to find out if things are working or not. So we've got this other one called blogged. Now this looks, oh, what's this? And you go, well, this is stuff we've done before as well. In fact, there's less of it. So all that stuff at the top of PHP, go back and have a look if you've forgotten. This is the same stuff again. We've put in our header, we're using the article middle, it's all echo, it's all PHP here, and then in here, if there's a problem, then you get an error message. Otherwise we get down to business. Now the business part that you need to look at is this. This is what's going to put information into your table, in your database. It's not going to show you, it's just going to say I did it, and then it's going to put that little comment at the bottom to say it was successfully added or it wasn't. So let's just have a look. I'll come back here again and have a look at a couple other things you need to do, but right now let's just try something. Submit. Please enter your name, please enter a comment. So it's, you've got to actually do something to make it work. So we put in a name, submit, please enter a comment, etc., etc. Now if I successfully get something in there, it will work. So let's try something. I'll put my name in, and this is, whoops, this is the first comment. Submit. Oh, and we've got an error. Unknown column post date in field list. Ooh, that's handy. It's good. An error is good. Let's go back and find out what went wrong. So we'll go back over here and we'll have a look at what's gone wrong. Let's go through it. Picked up the month. It's selected everything from Blogger. It does a select. These are the bits that are important, and then what it does is it creates what's called the next unique number as post ID, and it will put it in there. Now let's just see what's happened here. There must be an error over here somewhere. Ah, there we go. It's called post date. This is called date. That's good. So what we'll do is we'll fix this up. Mistakes are good. Sometimes they're hard to find though. Okay, so it's saying I can't find it. Now it looks like that. So let's go back over here and make sure everything's looking good for the moment. These all have to be uploaded, by the way. I'm still got to come back and talk to you about a couple other bits, but let's just make sure this thing's working. Okay, so back over here, let's put my name, let's put something like ordinary and see if this is going to work. Well, according to that, it's worked. Now if it's worked, we go back over here and we go to SQL, and it will probably default straight to that. Select everything from blog aware. Now let's just go back over here again and I'll show you something. See, that's looking very much like the same thing there. So it actually gets what's already in there, and the reason it's doing that is it needs to get the next unique number. So that's what happens here. That bit there creates, so it needs to know how many's in there to create the next identifier. Then it puts the next one in there. Alright, so let's just see if we've got something. If something got added. Copy, delete. This is the first comment. Yay, so it worked. So the first entry's gone in, which is good. Okay, so it's actually working. Now, back over here. A couple of things you need to have. You need to have that, and you need to have that. Now let me show you. It's called OpenDB, but I don't want to show you OpenDB. I'm showing you something slightly different, because if I show you OpenDB, then you're going to see my password. So you saw all this as we were getting in. So as we came through all here, that to get in, this stuff was the same. So you put db host localhost user, the same name, dpass, the password, and the database name, which is Coding Australia. There it is. So they all match. Alright, so this is just telling the blog PHP, this is what you need to start with. If things don't work, you get an error message that says I can't find it. Okay, so you've got to go and figure out what's wrong. Either your password's invalid or you didn't set this thing up right. So you've got to make sure all that's right. Now, as far as close is concerned, there's not much happening there. That's enough. Okay, so my blog uses the header footer. My blog uses the header footer, but it also has this and it has that. So once it's successfully opened the database and done what needs to be done, you just close it and it adds it. Now what we'll do next is we'll see if we can display what's already in there as we add new stuff. Alright, so this is what we had just before on the previous video. This was the separate little PHP file that we wrote, script. Now just over here quickly, the blog one is pretty much the same, except I've got rid of a lot of the table stuff, and it's all the way PHP, which it was before anyway, and we're just using the article and central stuff as well here. So if you don't do something right, the message will sit in the middle, and the same thing happens down here. Gets all that, and I've written new blog added successfully just to show you that that's working, and then closing the article down, and then it will sit in the middle in the page like it's supposed to. So that's blogged, and that needs to be saved and uploaded if you're going to change it. Probably good if you do. And the posts is going to be added to the blog, and when this is added to the blog, this is what you get. So you've got this part here already, and the article is right round the outside like that. This part is just posted straight in. The result, same thing, nothing changes, the layout's the same, align center. Let me just check. Yep, so it's pretty much what you want there. Okay, and that works, and that should be fine. Okay, I've saved it as BLA in case I stuffed it up, but I'm pretty sure everything's right. So I'll just check, because these should be exactly the same, and we're pretty right with it. And I've uploaded it, and when I upload blog this time and refresh it, that's what I get. Okay, so now let's put in a new one. Let's put Wilma in. Wilma Flintstone. Wilma is Fred's husband. Submit. Not happy. You have an error in your SQL syntax. Checks the manual that corresponds the right syntax to use near that. So it's given you a bit of an idea about what's going wrong here. Now I happen to know what's going wrong, so I know there's a way to go about thinking about how we're going to fix it. So let's go back and put Wilma in again. There she is, and put this. Wilma is Fred's husband without the little apostrophe there, and see if that works. Yep, not a problem. So yes, there is a problem when you're using quotes, single quotes in two different places. So for declaring in here, if you ever look back over here, of course there's all sorts of things being declared with single quotes. You might be able to get around it by using double quotes, but maybe you've got to get a bit more rigorous here, if you like, with input, and allow for that sort of thing to happen. But anyway, it works. It's working fine. Now what we'll do is the next thing we're going to look at is, in fact, the blog. We'll break the blog back up again, believe it or not, in the last video, and we'll have some options to either add, list, or delete. Okay, so we're going to split the blog script up into three parts, because we're going to actually have to decide as users what do we want to do once we look at the blog. We want to actually maintain it a bit, so we either want to add or delete or show the blogs. So we're going to split it into three. Now the one that's here, this is a section of the original blog where you were actually adding way back at the start. Hasn't changed, so that there is now called blog add. So rename it blog add. If it's been combined with something else, take everything else out. Just make sure you've got the header and that this article thing's right and that it says add there, so you know which one's which. That now is called blog add. Now, blog list is this one here, and at the moment you think, okay, but before we have a quick look at that, we'll just pop over here for a minute back to the database. Now, the structure of the blogger, there were 4 fields, now there's a 5th. So what you do is you add a column at the end of the table and hit go, and when it comes up, call it status. Things are running a bit slow at the moment, so I've done all this in advance. So you just add another column, call it status, and give it a width of 5. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then when you've done that, go to and have a look at the actual, and this is the bit that's going slow. Hopefully it's going to work. Taking forever. Dear oh dear. Right, let's see. Okay, let's see if we can get a query. Now, what's happened, and I've added a couple of extra fields here too because I want to start playing with this stuff. Alright, so when I was setting this thing up in the status, I put yes. Then I added a couple of extra records. I did that through the actual site itself, so I didn't have this status thing working, of course. It's just sitting here at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit these two, and hopefully it will allow me to do it pretty quickly. It won't take forever. Let's see how fast it is. Okay, good. Now I'm going to put no for the status of these two, and you'll see what happens when I do that. So this is, we do this and we change it, load it, and so we've got 3 yeses and 2 nos in our database. Right, now let's go back over here. This is the blog list, which is pretty much what it was before. I mean, it might say no blogs found, so this is just taking pieces out of that one that was there originally. You only want this bit now. It's called list, and what you add here is list where status equals yes. Okay, we're just playing here at the moment, by the way. So this is where status equals yes, and so that you can see the difference over here, which is exactly the same except this one's called delete. Here it's where status equals no. Now this is nonsense at the moment because that's not how we're going to do it. The way we're actually going to manipulate deleting and adding is by changing the status and then looking for a space, because if this one says no, then what that's saying is that physically it's on the database, but logically you can't see it as a user, and that's what this thing does. So it creates spaces, and then when the next blog is added, it goes into the first space, so that you don't wind up with this massive database of lots of yeses and nos. That status is used to fill in gaps, and you'll see how that works when we get to it. Okay, so right at this moment what we've got is we've got add, delete and list blog, and what we've done up here is our blog now is very short. It says that blog options, and then we look at list, add and delete, and the value of the button that's going to show is that. We put an H2 right around the whole thing and some breaks and so forth where they're needed, and that now becomes blog. So don't save that as blog until you've made sure you've got these other bits working properly. Blog stays the way it was. Okay, so all those get loaded, uploaded, which they've been done, and then when we go over here and have a look, we go list, we get the 3 that say yes, we go delete, we get the 2 that say no. Okay, so, and when we do add, we put in another one, but at this stage it's not setting the status to yes, so we've got to play some games there as well. We need to do some things with blogged, so that we add the status. When a new blog goes in, we give the status yes, we have to tell it in blogged. That's what we want to do. And back over here again, this is listing the ones that are what we call logically active. Okay, so that's what we're doing, and then we'll play with the other bits. And alright, now we're going to work on the delete one first, and what the delete one's going to do is it's going to find out which one you want to delete, and when it does, it'll just change the status to no. So like I said before, it will physically still be there, but it will logically be gone. And that's how databases are manipulated. Alright, so over here we've got the blog delete script, delete a blog. Up here, same thing. We're looking for just for those with a status of yes, and when we find them, we display them on the screen. Okay, and that's down to there is pretty much what was already there. The bit that's different, and this is just taken from the original blog where you type stuff in and it sent it to another file. Well, that's what this is going to do. So, and it's all in PHP, by the way, so that's why the echo's there. So if form post action, go to blog deleted, alright, align center, post ID, and then what it asks you to do is put in the ID of what you want deleted and then submit it. So that little bit there is what needs to be added to blog delete. So check that out. No blogs found. That means that there's nothing there if it looks for it right. So that means you've got a blank screen there, then there's nothing to delete. But if a few turn up and you go, I want to get rid of that one, so you type in the one you want, and that will give you blog delete. Now, blog deleted is this, and this is a little bit like the listy one where you were adding stuff, are kind of the same, but this time what happens is this. It does the thing, it selects everything with the status of yes, alright, and then what it does is it updates the blogger, and this update statement here, which is an SQL one, I guess what I'm saying over here is that you can learn and play and do all sorts of stuff here. So for example, you can click insert and update and delete, which is the sort of stuff we're going to do. This one here is a delete from one as well. Okay, now that's okay to do that, and that just gets rid of the record, but that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to keep the record in the database with a different status so we can put the next one in there. That's a slightly more complicated way of doing it, but that's the way we're going to do it. But you may quite obviously go and have a play with this. So the update is what we're using, a part thereof. So you can copy these SQL statements over into PHP. When you do, the look changes a little bit. So the double quotes, if you started with double quotes, you've got to stick with double quotes, and some quotes disappear and some come back. So for example, to make this work, what you're saying is update blogger set status to know where post ID equals that value there, which is passed here. Okay, so you put it in, it passes it over to here, and then you're away, it runs it. Alright, so you save these, you upload them, and let's go back over here and have a look. So what we want to do, I'll just start again. So we want to delete, I've uploaded them, we've now got the 5, so why don't we get rid of I don't know, we'll get rid of Betty for the moment. So we put in what we want to get rid of and we submit, and it says it's been successfully deleted, and which means it came across to this one and it wrote the actual which one was successfully deleted there. Okay, so that's what's happened. Now to make sure it's been successfully deleted, well, there's a couple of ways. First of all, if we go back over here and we hit the select, alright, hopefully it won't take too long, and it hopefully will load reasonably quickly. And if you look down here, Betty Rubble's status has changed to no, so she's still there but she's not, if you get my drift. And then if you come back over here, if you come back over here to this, go back to the blog and do the list, you'll see it's missing, so she's gone. So the list one pretty much doesn't change. Whatever the list was before, it was status set to yes, it works. Okay, so that's the way to get rid of a record. Now the next one we'll look at in the next video is adding, which is a little bit more tricky, because what you've got to do is you've got to go looking for the first occurrence of a status of no. So we'll try that in the next video. Alright, so we've done delete and list blogging, and now we're going to add a new blog. And we've done it before, but things have changed a bit since we decided that deleting would not physically delete a record, it would just change its status, and that no status becomes a space where we insert new blogs, unless they've all got a status of yes, which means it gets added on the end. So you've got to cover two options. So here is the original, which is now called blog add, which we leave as is, and over here we've got blog added. Now the top should be the same as it was originally. We're checking for a name and comment is valid, and then we open up and we display. So if we have a problem, you get a message and go back and have another go. Otherwise we go through this. Now there the status is set to yes. Get the number of rows in total. So we open a query and we get everything from Blogger, and we call rows the number of rows for that result. Then we go back and do a second select where the status is no, to see if there are any in there. Okay, so we now have result 1, so it's important we have result and result 1, and now we have num rows for result 1. So all rows, and then number of rows for status of no. Then we add a new blog at the end if the number of rows is 0. So we do the same thing, where this is all rows, we go to the next number and we insert at there, and if it all works we're in good shape and a new blog's added successfully. If on the other hand we discover that num rows isn't 0, that we then go and get the first entry of result 1, this one here. So we go and get the first entry, and AR0, go back and have a look if you can't remember, we set the post ID. That's going to be the first ID of the first space in the database, and this time with another query, a fresh query, we update. So here we're inserting at the end, here we're updating, and we're setting the new name and comment, whatever the new date is, and the status, which is yes, where the post ID matches this. Okay, so post ID, which is what comes through here, okay, that's what we're looking for. And then if it's successful, we're laughing. Alright, so that's it. Now we upload all that over here. Let's just check. I've done some changes. Let's put those two up. Overwrite, just to make sure they're okay. And then we go to the blog and we'll do a list. So we've got 6. Now they're not in any particular order because we haven't ordered anything at the moment, so they turn up looking like that, and I've put in an extra one. So what we'll do is we'll go through all the stages to see if this thing's actually working properly. So we'll add this one. Oh, for heaven's sake. Let's see if that goes through. It says it has. Let's go back and look at the list and see what we've got. There he is, Bam Bam Rubble. Alright, now what we'll do is I'm going to get rid of number 2, alright, and see what that does. So let's go here and we'll delete 1002, and then we'll go back to the blog and we'll have a look at the list, and it's gone. So Fred's gone. Now what we'll do is we'll see if we can put him back. Okay, and let's see whether we got it where we want it. Yep, there it is. So he was deleted and then he was put back when you can see the new information's been put in. So we're deleting and we're adding successfully, filling in the gaps. Okay, alright, we may have a look at edit.
Thank you, too.